But you can see how violent this is to not allow someone to wear a top as a part of a ritual humiliation. That is Satanism 101. Not allowed education and spiritual studies, kept in forced poverty, and not allowed to read and write. So if you don't allow someone to read and write, how are you going to be educated? How are you going to know your rights? How are you going to free yourself from poverty when you're not allowed to work? So all of this is very demonic in nature. It is very satanic in nature. And these are not ordinary things, but these are extremely evil things. So these are not like ordinary discrimination, but these are very oppressive, evil, satanic based things. All governmental, military, and police forces used to oppress them based on vague ideas that has no intelligence, but to oppress due to envy and hatred of greatly skilled people. So the Vishwakarmas are actually extremely skilled people. They have incredible gifts and talents, spiritual talents of craftsmanship. And everyone was used against the Vishwakarmas to oppress and dominate us. So including military, police, spiritual hierarchies, the highest spiritual hierarchies, everyone gathered together and devised their rules to oppress the Vishwakarmas. All government, military, police forces were used to oppress them based on vague ideas. So all of this oppression is just on vague ideas. It's just made up. All of this is just made up by someone, which is Satan. It's all made up by him. And it's all vague. It's not like a legitimate thing, like the bounds try to make it like it's a legitimate thing. It has to be followed. It has to be done. If you don't follow this untouchability rule, we are doomed. They present it like that within the Nepalese community, like it's a very important, urgent thing to discriminate. They make it seem that way, but it's actually not. They're just deluded, and they're all based on very vague ideas, and there's no intelligence behind it. And the oppression is due to envy and hatred. And it is just hatred of very greatly skilled people. The Vishwakarmas are great craftsmen, incredibly spiritually gifted people. And that's why there is hatred and envy of the Vishwakarma, because the bounds, they only read and they do not have any other skill set. And because they only read and learn, they're mental based. So they're easily deluded. They do not do work with their hands. So they have incredible hatred for the Vishwakarmas that are great craftsmen. Spiritual artifacts of the Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma lineage-based works includes metallurgy, blacksmith, goldsmiths, tailors, cobblers, musicians, making and playing musical instruments, making all cultural clothing, all temple objects, shoemaking, cultural pride and symbol, like the kukri for the military, are made by traditional blacksmiths. Artisan jewelry making and all cultural and wedding jewelry are made by goldsmiths, kamis. All spiritual ritual finer artifacts can only be made by the lineage-based Vishwakarma for that artifact to be even classed as spiritual. Otherwise, it is what we have in this hyper-production spiritual souvenir type reality. For the karma of taking away the lineage-based artisans and their lowered status is the reflection of all the cheap manufacturing plastic world. If you want to know the work of the Vishwakarma, It is blacksmiths. So when they make anything to do with metal, when you work with metal, you're making knives, you're making swords, anything to do with working with metal. And then you have goldsmiths that make jewelry, working with gold. My mother's father was a goldsmith. My grandfather, which is my dad's father, was a goldsmith and a blacksmith, or he worked with metals. And then they also are tailors. So the Damais are great tailors. They make incredible clothing. Cobblers making shoes, musicians. So the Damais are also known as musicians. So they play music during weddings. They also make musical instruments. So all your different musical instruments that you use metals to make, these different musical instruments are made by the Damais. And all the drums, different leathers that you put on these drums, so they're all made by the Damais. So all the musical instruments are made by the Damais, and they themselves play them as well. Making all cultural clothing. So all the cultural clothing that we have in Nepal, and people pride themselves, they wear all these cultural clothings, and they ignorantly discriminate against the Damai that actually make and design all the cultural clothing. All temple objects are also made by the blacksmiths. So anything that you need in a temple, whether it's a bell or bow, the different things that people use in temples that are made with metals, different extremely spiritual temple objects such as a vajra. So they're all temple objects that are used by monks. They're all made by the blacksmiths. And in the current modern world, you have your singing bowls. The singing bowls are made by blacksmiths. Shoemaking by the Vishwakarmas. The cultural pride and symbol of the kukri. So the kukri is a knife that are used by the Gurkhas, and this is famous around the world. People come to Nepal to source the kukri from around the world. So this pride and symbol of Nepal, which is the kukri, that is traditionally made by the blacksmiths, which are the Vishwakarma blacksmiths, make that kukri, which is the symbol of Nepal, symbol of the Nepalese people, are made by the blacksmiths. And you won't find better craftsmanships than your traditional blacksmiths that make these perfect knives. Artisan jewelry making, all cultural and wedding jewelry, all made by goldsmith kamis. So when they talk about untouchability, we can't eat the food that they touch or drink the water that they touch. When they say that, they're actually wearing what we are touching. They are wearing with all the jewelry, all the expensive diamonds and all the expensive golds that they like to hang around the necks and show off to everyone, the perfect jewelry making. All of that is coming from the blacksmith, and they're so ignorant. So they feel like it's just magically appeared in front of them because they don't work with their hands, they don't make anything. So they only study and read. The Bounds have no concept of that, so they're ungrounded they're ungrounded in reality, and they cannot make the connection, and they cannot make the link between what they are wearing, what they are a part of, the clothing, the jewelry, everything that they wear, all the things that you need in a wedding. Imagine how many things you need in a wedding. It all comes from the kamis and the mais. And if it's not made perfectly, you're not going to look good. So they cannot connect the dot in that way, and they just discriminate people, where when we are providing the most basic things that these people wear, and they show off on the internet and the Instagram on Facebook, they show off all the gold and diamonds that were all made by the Vishwakarmas. All spiritual, ritual, finer artifacts can only be made by the lineage-based Vishwakarma for that artifact to be classed as spiritual. So this you have to understand, because all spiritual and ritual finer artifacts such as a vajra, it has to be made by a lineage-based Biswakarma. So you can't be just a random person that got a university degree on making jewelry and start to make a vajra. It's not going to work. You can make jewelry for Tiffany, but you cannot make artifacts for spirituality. If you are a person with a degree, you can make jewelry for Tiffany, but you cannot make spiritual artifact. It's just not going to work. It has to be lineage based. It has to come from a Biswakarma. It has to be a spiritual lineage to make spiritual artifacts such as a vajra or a bell or other complicated spiritual artifacts that is directly related to spirituality. Has to be made by the lineage-based Biswakarma to be even classed as spiritual. Otherwise, it is just a spiritual souvenir that when you come to Nepal, you can get a crooked vajra and go and give it to your family members. So if you are just using regular spiritual artifacts in your temple, it's not even the real thing. It is just based on hyperproduction, made out of like bad metal, like mixed metal. They put plastic, they mix plastic in your vajra, they mix plastic in your bell, they mix all these different yucky chemicals, and it's coming from a place of deception. It's coming from a place of cheating to you, lying to you. It's coming from a place of profit. How can I gain more money from this bell? How can I gain more money from this vajra? So it's not a spiritual artifact. It cannot be classed as a spiritual artifact because there is a lot of deception going on there, because it's all about cutting costs, sustainability, all that BS that they teach us, all that illusion that they teach us, that are just giving you chemicals. So when they talk about sustainability and making products cheaper, they're just using plastic. So you're just getting a plastic vajra or a plastic bell. So they cannot give you the basics, and they consider themselves evolved and advanced, but they're not giving you a basic metal that is a metal. Like, for example, in Australia, you have this 9-carat gold thing, and that 9-carat gold, you cannot even melt that and reuse that. The 9-carat gold, you should see some of the jewelries that people sell in Australia, the highest jewelry brand. They are so disgusting. So they sell you 9-carat, 14-carat gold here. It's unheard of. 9-carat, 14-carat gold is unheard of in Nepal. It's unheard of within the Vishwakarma. But if you come to Australia, you will get that 9-carat gold that you cannot even melt down and reuse, because there's so much mixture in there, and it's barely any gold there. So that's what you can expect in terms of your cheap manufacturing plastic world. These companies are multi-billionaire companies that have so many shops across the whole Australia. There are so many jewelry shops under that one. Like, say for example, Michael Hill. So there is so many Michael Hill jewelry shops that sell cheap plastic jewelry, like 9-carat gold, just disgusting design. And when you wear it, you will even get allergic reaction, because just how they are making it, how they have cheapened everything, and gold is not even gold in Australia anymore. So that's what happens when you steal and take away and suppress and oppress the original artists and original craftsmen. Lineage-based spiritual craftsmen, when you suppress them, that's what you get. You get a 9-carat cheap gold that gives you an allergic reaction. It's not even gold. And you're paying the price of gold for something that is partially gold. So that's the condition of the world, especially in the first world countries. You will see that a lot, that 9-carat gold, 14-carat gold, cheap designs. You'll see that a lot. And they're also charging a lot of money for silver. They're charging a lot of money for metals that are not even gold or silver that are used for jewelry. So all of that degradation, all of that degraded quality, the cheap and nasty things cheap and nasty production is coming from oppression of the original spiritual craftsmen that are like the Vishwakarmas. And that's like the karma for the world as well, for suppressing the original lineage. And that's what you get. Like, you suppress the best artisans, then you get a cheap manufacturing plastic world. And it is the reflection of the abilities of the ruling forces, the satanic ruling forces. It's a reflection of their ability. Just go to Michael Hill or these cheap jewelry shops that you walk in. Just go to one of those. There's so many of those Michael Hills, higher Michael Hill, lower Michael Hills. There's so many of those. And you can walk into one of those cheap jewelry shop, and you will be appalled to see what's in there. That's a reflection of the design and the jewelry making ability of the satanic ruling elite, because they suppressed and took away our skill set and gave themselves these cheap shops. The ruling elites have stolen the trade and the way of life of the Vishwakarma through legalized oppression and made themselves their luxury designer brands. Considering the elites have classed themselves Brahmin, Bounds, priestly class, they have lied and instead established their luxury brands that they stole from the Vishwakarma. So the ruling elites have stolen the trade and the way of life of the Vishwakarmas. They actually call themselves the ruling elite, the priestly class, the Bounds, the highest, the number one, but they have actually stolen all our skill set, the Vishwakarma skill set they have stolen. And now they have established their luxury brands, designer leather handbags and designer jewelry, your Tiffany's and all that. So they have established those things and taken complete ownership of the Vishwakarma craftsmanships, or the Vishwakarma trade, or the Vishwakarma lineage, or the Vishwakarma way of life. They have actually stolen that and created these luxury designer brands that are pretentious, and the luxury designer brands are not that good. The way they market and sell their products and the way they design their products is really based on cheating and lying. It's based on fraud. So what they make, the designer clothes, designer shoes, designer handbags, jewelries, all the things that they make, versus how much they charge, it makes no sense. It's totally retarded. And what they make is not even worthy of the prices that they are charging. So they have actually oppressed the Vishwakarma, legally oppressed the Vishwakarmas, and have actually established luxury designer brands for themselves and taken monopoly of that. So they consider themselves Brahmin and priestly class, but they're actually lying to you, and they have actually come in and stolen the original spiritual lineage of the Vishwakarma. And that's the reason for their oppression. Cheap designs of the modern world. There is no shortage of cheap designs in this modern world. There is no shortage of that at all. All the worldwide luxury brands that house below average goods with their tranny models, with their fake boobs, fake lips, fake body, including fake pregnancies, is the condition of artisans. So when you have all these models and all these luxury brands displaying their shoes and handbags, $30,000 handbags and $100,000 diamond rings, when they're displaying that, that is not the actual worth of value of those items, and they're not that well made. They do not cost $30,000. Like a handbag does not cost $30,000. A piece of leather does not cost $30,000. A piece of diamond on a ring does not cost $100,000. It's just a made-up, retarded, made-up pricing strategy. That's what it is. That's not the original pricing, but they use their transgender model. So your satanic ruling elites, they're actually all transgender. All your Gigi Hadid, Bella Hadid, your Kendall Jenner, all of these famous people, they're actually all transgender. They're male models. They have been ritually transgendered from a young age. So they're not telling you that they are transgender and portraying them as women in the mainstream culture, but they're not. They're transgender models. And these transgender satanic models are actually being used to promote your worldwide luxury brands.